Because if we don't have our own rationale of applying for this particular scholarship, we might end up with giving up in the middle of the process because some scholarship timeline takes nearly a year.
Hello everyone, welcome to Tape English. I'm your host, Vu, and today I've got a special guest. She is Su Myat Htet. She's currently working as an academic general manager and a lecturer at Crown Education and Royal Academic Institute. Hi, Su Htet.
Hi, Matthew.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I am very grateful and great to see you, Matthew, again.
Good to see you again, Su Htet. So, Su Htet, tell me about your current role.
Yes, I'm currently working as an academic general manager and also the lecturer in Crown Education and Royal Academic Institute. In our REI, we ran grade 12 programs such as Canada grade 12 program, which is OSSD, Ontario Secondary School Diploma, and American grade 12 program and GED program. So I am responsible for handling these academic things for these three programs. And I also teach ACT English, American College Testing English, Psychology in American grade 12 program.
Wow, sounds like a lot of different programs.
Yes.
And how do you find the job?
Sometimes it's quite stressful, but I think it is quite rewarding for me because I have to manage academic things and I do teaching at the same time.
I guess teaching is your passion then.
Yes, sure.
So how did you get started as a teacher then? Tell me about your professional journey.
I started my career as an English language teacher in 2012. I taught in very teaching settings ranging from Cambridge widely exam preparations such as stutters, movers, flyers, cat, pet, and then teaching English in primary general English classes in English language schools, and also teaching English for like government curriculum, which is grade 8 to 10. And I also did some business English classes in corporate training. In 2018, I started working as an academic coordinator and also the lecturer in this current organization. So I think like working in such different work natures in different kind of schools and environment made me more interested in education organization and how education organization operate and how education management and leadership affect the quality of education that we can offer. So I realized that I need to fill my knowledge gap and also the experience gap. So I decided to fill that gap by doing masters in education management and leadership.
That sounds amazing. So you did your master's in educational management.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the program and where you did it? And did you enjoy the experience?
Yes. I did my master's education management and leadership in the University of Southampton, UK in 2021-22. I enjoyed a lot for this in studying that program because even though it's quite new to me, it sounds very interesting for me.
Yeah, so it sounds interesting. And do you have any highlights? Can you tell us any highlights from the course?
I think academically, in terms of subject, I read the courses and the course outlines in details. So it wasn't that new for me to learn those things because I read it in advance, the course outlines in advance. But one of the course, actually it was optional one. So the optional modules was really interesting for me and it was very new to me. The course name is quite long. Social context of education and lifelong learning. So this is very long, but it is mostly about education inequality and widening participation and some other things. So I think that you might find it a little bit odd because we are doing education management and leadership. So what's the point of studying education inequalities? But it is very relatable because not only in private sector and public sectors, we really need to be aware of the privilege that we already have. So if we, as the educator and also the school managers and principal, if we are not aware of the privilege that we already have, and if we are not aware of the inequality, so it's quite risky for the educational field. So this is one of the the highlights that I learned from that course. We have to do the assignment for every module, right? So for that module, I chose the topic about the role of mother tongue based education. So I was really interested in it. I put a lot of effort, but unfortunately, I didn't get the mark that I aimed for that module.
Yes, but the main thing is that you had an opportunity to think about all these educational inequality and how, as an educator, how you can deal with such kind of problems.
Yes, I enjoyed learning a lot about that subject. Yes, and another highlight is that it's just for myself. I don't think that that will apply to a lot of people because I'm a naturally introverted person and I am quite reluctant to ask for help and have a community. So because of the support system, I think my education journey didn't have much struggles. So like trying to have a support system, maybe your beloved ones, your friends, whatever, like trying to have a support system. That's a really important one in our education journey.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think sometimes we find it hard to ask for help or support. And
Yes.
whereas if we have some support system, you can talk about your problems and then share your experiences, and other people may have some similar struggles. Then we all can work out together how to solve them.
Yes, sure.
You mentioned about the highlights, and you just also mentioned that you didn't have any struggles much. But did you have any other challenges doing a master's abroad?
There were two challenges that I faced, especially in the early months of my first semester. I think it is also because of my personality, because as I said, I am naturally introverted person. To be honest, I didn't really like the vibes of attending in-person classes in the lecture hall with hundreds of people around me. I found it very difficult to concentrate in the lesson and I missed some parts of the lecture. And I didn't dare to raise questions in the beginning because I did self-censorship a lot. And I was also anxious about whether my question would be a silly one or not very thought-provoking. Then I tried to convince myself that, okay, you are just learning and you're trying so hard, so it is okay. Even the question sounds silly. If I don't ask the question that I don't know, that I don't understand, just because I am afraid of others people criticism, and that would be the loss for me. That's why I pushed myself a lot to ask and raise the questions. Then I finally got enough confidence to ask questions and had many fruitful discussions with my professors, classmates in the lecture hall and also in seminar. But gradually, I found the learning fun. And another challenge was actually, I don't even know whether it was a challenge or not, or it was just my anxiety. I admit that I was a bit obsessed with marks for the assignment that I'm interested in.
I think everyone is.
Yes. So in subjects that I am interested in, I didn't get the marks that I aimed for. At the time, I was quite depressed and I procrastinated a lot while I have to do other assignments on the way. So although I was a teacher, at the time I felt like I became a kid again and I forgot to enjoy learning. So one of my friends from my study group shed me the light on like how much enjoying our own learning process is important for our present fulfillment and also for our future studies. So later that I just trying to enjoy the process.
That's amazing. That's a good advice.
Yeah.
I think we are all sometimes obsessed with getting marks and forgot to enjoy the process of learning and putting in effort for stages in that process. Say you mentioned about having good marks in assignment. It can be important, but another important thing is to think about how much you're learning, how much you're enjoying the process.
Yes.
So I've got two questions for that. First, as educators, how can we then help learners not to be too obsessed with marks? That's my first question.
Okay. So this is a very interesting question, and then it hit me straight because, like, when you ask this question, the story of Gandhi pop up on my mind. Should I share this?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure whether I remember exactly or not, but when I was young, I read a story about Mahatma Gandhi. One day, a woman and his son came to Gandhi and then asked to encourage her son not to eat a lot of salt because it's not good for his health. At the time, Mahatma Gandhi didn't tell anything because he was also eating a lot of salt at the time. So he told that woman to wait, I think 1 or 2 months and come back 1 or 2 months later. And then he practiced not eating a lot of salt in his diet. Then 2 months later, he told that son not to eat a lot of salt. So like Gandhi is a very iconic person and very admirable person in their country. So he can quickly say that, oh, don't do that. But no, he waited for 2 months, and okay, 2 months later, he encouraged that guy not to eat salt. So it really is, it was, that story was on my mind all the time. Whenever I have to tell something to my students, I also ask myself first, can I do that? If I were a student, how would it be? Because I face such kind of challenges and such kind of things in my current job, and not only in current job, but also in other private schools. Because we always say that, okay, grades are not that much important, just enjoy your learning. Okay, so when we are graduated, the very first question that recruiter asks, what was your GPA? And then did you get a distinction? And how was your mark? And so we cannot forget about this. Yeah, yes, grades are important. And another one is that we always have to find the spark in learning. So of course, even when I was doing my master degree, I think as much as I remember, we had to learn 6 modules, and 2 modules I hated. But later, I thought that it was because we had to learn education research just for education research for 2 modules. I thought that, okay, just learning 1 module was enough. So what's the point of studying the similar one for another module? So I didn't understand that, and no one convinced me about this one. But later, when we had to do the dissertation, since we learned about that 2 modules, it was very useful for me in doing the dissertation. It is the teacher responsibility and educator responsibility to convince the students that such kind of learning is not just for grades. It's for their career, it's for their personal development, and it's for their future studies, and it's for their, how can I say, for learning, just enjoying things. So please try to find some spark of a particular subject and then show the spark to your student. So at the time, they can see the spark and they can enjoy learning as much as they can. Yes, that's the point. So just be honest with yourself first and then find the spark and then show the spark to your student.
That's great. You just answered my second question. I haven't asked, but I was going to ask you, how about us as educators? Since we are also doing a lot of courses, how can we not be too obsessed with marks and trying to find the joy? You just answered the question. Thank you very much. But to recap, I think marks are very important. And I think we should consider how maybe to get better marks then rather than obsessing about it too much. Maybe think of it positively or proactively as, right, I want to get this mark. How can I get it? So start planning, thinking about, okay, to get this marks, what are the requirements that I need to provide? And then work towards that goal. Or I think in a lot of courses, there are certain assessments which are for you to practice. Then maybe focus on doing, so they're called formative assessments, right? So focus on performing in those assessments well, then reflect on your performance and then try to achieve the goal or the mark that you want. And then it's okay sometimes. I think if you don't get the highest marks sometimes as well. And I really like your Gandhi story. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And so if I remember correctly, did you also get the Chevening scholarship?
Yes.
Do you have any tips and advice for applying for that scholarship?
Yes, sure. Actually, there are a lot to say regarding scholarship application tips, but I just would like to focus on 3 main things, which is a very fundamental things. So the first one is that we should ask, what is it? It is easy, it is very basic, but we have to put a lot of effort to know and to do what is it. So it is need-based scholarship or community-based scholarship or merit-based scholarship, and what is the timeline, what are the procedures, most importantly, what is the purpose or the theme of the scholarship that you are applying for, because every scholarship has their theme and purpose. So for Chevening, it's especially for the future leader. So they focus on leadership skills a lot. So if you know the theme and purpose of the scholarship that you're applying for, you can highlight your skills and your experience for that scholarship. And another one is why. So we should ask why question. So when we are asking why question, the first why we should ask is why this scholarship? Because if we don't have our own rationale of applying for this particular scholarship, we might end up with giving up in the middle of the process because some scholarship timeline takes nearly a year. For example, for me, I had two main reasons of applying for the Chevening scholarship. The first one is UK is one of the top one countries that I would like to live in, and I like it. The second one is masters in UK lasts only 1 year. So it sounds funny, but it is true. It is my reasons of applying this particular scholarship. So it means that your reasons do not necessarily need to have to be great, but it should be authentic and really gives you the drive to keep going no matter how many setbacks you face along the way. And another why we should ask ourselves is why do we deserve to be chosen for this scholarship? Winning scholarship is a kind of life-changing experience for us, but it doesn't mean that if we don't get the scholarship, it doesn't mean that we're not great. Okay, so I always have to remind that to everyone because of course we need to ask like why us and what are our unique points among thousands of applicants. So I think this part is the most critical part because for some people they have tons of experience and capabilities, but when they write the scholarship essays, they just list down everything they did in a chronological order like CV. So this does not really appeal the committee board and it even disadvantage the application. So in this case, we can mime up our life journey, our experience and skills and academic things and come up with an interesting storyline. So most people use STAR approach, which is situation, talks, action, and results. So such kind of approach, I don't mean that we have to use this STAR approach all the time, but like it is good to use it. It helps the reader to visualize our story and understand what we really want to mean. So and another one is that the most important part is also the authenticity. So we shouldn't write what we didn't do. So it is not at the goal to do that. So the last but not the least important part is to be proactive. These days there are a lot of like scholarship sharing session. Yes, it's good to attend such kind of scholarship information sharing session and listen to alumni's experiences. But the candidates need to research the information themselves. Every scholarship gives specific information in their website, so the candidates really need to put effort to thoroughly read the information and act accordingly. So to sum up, know your uniqueness beyond eligibility and don't just list down your experience and have your appealing and authentic storyline, and know the main purpose of the scholarship that you're applying for and be resilient.
That's amazing. Thank you, Su Myat, for sharing these very useful tips for applying for the scholarship. And
It's my pleasure.
thank you. So my last question is, do you have any tips and advice for anyone who wants to get into academic management?
This is a kind of like big question for me, but I'm not sure whether it were applying to everyone. But when I was doing this education, leadership, and management course, some of the principles and theories that we have to learn are adapted from the business management field. So most people think that if we know some management principles and practices, they can apply these things also as an academic management thing. So yes, it's true to some extent, but in education, we are not just dealing with give and take nature, like selling and buying things, selling and buying products. Because not only private and public education, also private education is not just giving service to the students and parents. It is more than that. So we are cooperating together. We mean students, teacher, parents, educators, school managers. So we are cooperating together to assist in the intellectual and skills development of human beings, our students. So from my professional and personal point of view, we should ask one question to ourselves before we work in academic management field. That is, what are our own philosophy on education? What are our own beliefs on education? Because if we do not have a concrete belief about education, the way we manage and the way we lead is like just following the trend of the market. So we will not be able to find the values in our work in the long run. So we should have fundamental and concrete belief on education first. And second thing is that lifelong learning. So I think like just knowing how to manage day-to-day tasks is not enough. So to be a good leader and good manager, we really need to be a far-sighted and strategic leader. So to be such kind of leader, we should keep learning through formal education, informal education from our peers, from our students, everyone around us. The last is that to be open-minded. So it's very simple, but it is the reminder for myself too, because it is good to be firm with our own belief and value. But when we are cooperating and working in an educational setting, being open-minded to people's idea and have some trust in their capabilities is very important for the mutual growth and organizational development. So we should be really open-minded, especially when we are working in our academic management field.
That's great. I really like what you said about having your own teaching or educational philosophy, like having your own beliefs or missions.
Yes.
Would you say missions and visions as well, like even for yourself?
Yes, of course, like vision and mission for ourselves. Because like when we are working, we have to align our personal and professional belief with the organizational mission. So not just the organizational mission that you are working currently, your own one, your own personal and professional one. Because we will not be working with a particular organization company all the time. So we have to view ourselves throughout our life. So just be aware of that one, like true identity in things.
That's amazing. So my very last question, I promise this is the last question. How can we be true to ourselves then? How can we know our true identity or what we believe in?
It's not a big question, but it is a painful question.
It is, yeah.
It takes me years to answer this because when we are talking about identity, we will talk about personal identity, cultural identity, like professional identity a lot. So what kind of identity is that? And also we evolve and also our identity change and our belief system also change. I think like just knowing our identity is not enough. We need to accept that and then go with that. And another one is that if we cannot accept that, what are we going to do? For example, if I was very shy before, still shy, so I asked myself whether I like this one or not. And another one is I said I'm a very introverted person, but the work nature that I'm currently working is academic management. So it's not a good one, right? So I have to shape myself. Okay, yes, I am an introverted person. I ran off the social battery very easily, but I also like academic management. So I trying to shape my personality and at the same time trying to accept myself and also learn a lot, not only from books, but also from my mentors and my colleagues. So in that way, we can shape our identity in an acceptable way. Yes. So the main thing is that we really need to be patient with ourselves. And sometimes we also have to get rid of the things that we don't like. Brave enough to forsake the things that we don't like and that we cannot stand. So yeah. So to sum up, be patient with yourself and also be brave enough to stand up for your identity.
Sounds to me that it is a process. So to me, it's a process of then becoming a person that you like to be and becoming you, like who you are, being true to yourself and actually thinking about, like it's a process of, I read this word becoming because if you have goals, once you have achieved goals, then you're like, what's the next goal? So keep trying. And then I think sometimes it is that process. So the word becoming has been in my mind lately as well. So thank you for those useful tips and advice. Right, Su Htet, it's been a great pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you too.
I hope to see you soon.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
This is Daily English, where we bring knowledge, sip inspiration, and connect with the vibrant communities of teachers. Happy teaching!